You're putting in the hours, pushing yourself. Yet sometimes, despite all that effort, there's this quiet hum of unfulfillment. It's not loud. It's not a crisis. It's a subtle, constant background noise you might notice on a Sunday evening, thinking about the week ahead. Or maybe during your commute, stuck in traffic, when the podcast you're listening to fades out and you're left alone with your thoughts. You've done everything you were supposed to. You got the degree, landed the job, hit your Q4 targets. You're checking all the boxes on a list that someone, somewhere, told you was the blueprint for a successful life. And yet, that quiet hum remains. It's almost as if the very things we've been told lead to success are actually holding us back from something deeper. What if true career growth isn't about achieving more, but about unlearning what success means? This feeling, it isn't just in your head. It's a well-documented phenomenon. Psychologists call it the Hedonic Treadmill. The idea is simple. You work incredibly hard to get that promotion or that raise. And when you get it, there's a genuine spike of happiness. But after a few weeks, maybe a month, it just becomes normal. The new salary is just your salary. The new title is just your title. And the treadmill starts up again, telling you to run towards the next milestone, promising that this time the feeling of accomplishment will stick. But it rarely does. This is the mirage of traditional success, a beautiful, shimmering image of a corner office, a bigger paycheck, and the admiration of others. But the closer we get, the more we realize it might not have the substance we were hoping for. The research backs this up. A fundamental mismatch between our work and our core values is a primary source of burnout and disengagement. In fact, a study found that 40% of employees leave their jobs because they feel a lack of purpose. It's a silent epidemic of ambitious people winning a game they're not even sure they want to play anymore. So, what's the alternative? It's not about quitting your job tomorrow or abandoning your ambitions. It's about a gentle but profound shift in perspective. It's about unlearning the metrics that society handed you and relearning a new set of internal ones that are authentically yours. In this video, we're going to explore a practical way to begin that journey. We'll walk through 3 foundational habits to help you unlearn, relearn, and begin cultivating a deeper, more meaningful path to professional growth. So the first habit is to redefine your scorecard. You see, for most of our lives, our scorecard has been written by others. It measures things like our job title, our salary, the size of our team. These are what are known as extrinsic motivators, rewards that come from the outside world. And they're not inherently bad, but when they're the only things on our scorecard, our sense of self-worth becomes incredibly fragile, dependent on our next performance review. The shift we need to make is towards intrinsic motivators, rewards that come from within. This is explained so well by a cornerstone of psychology called self-determination theory, or SDT. It says that all of us, regardless of culture, have 3 innate psychological needs. When these needs are met, we thrive. When they're not, we feel that quiet hum of unfulfillment. These 3 needs are, first, autonomy, the desire to feel that you have a choice, a sense of control and ownership over your work. It's the difference between being a cog in a machine and being the artist who decides where the next brushstroke goes. Second is competence, the need to feel effective, to master challenges, and to feel a sense of growth in what you do. It's that deeply satisfying feeling when you solve a problem that once stumped you. And the third is relatedness, the need to feel connected to others, to feel like you belong, and that you're part of a community that cares for you and that you care for in return. Notice that a higher salary or a fancier title isn't on that list. The deepest satisfaction comes from work that honors our autonomy, builds our competence, and fosters our relatedness. So, how do we put this into practice? We can conduct what's called a values audit. And it's much simpler than it sounds. Just take a piece of paper or open a new note on your phone and create 3 columns. Label them autonomy, competence, and relatedness.
Now, just think about your last work week. Under Autonomy, jot down any moments where you felt you had real ownership. Maybe you were given the freedom to lead a small project, or maybe you had none, and that column stays empty. And that's okay. This is just about awareness. Under Competence, write down anything that made you feel skillful or that you were learning. Did you figure out a tricky piece of code? Did you navigate a difficult conversation with a client successfully? And under Relatedness, list any moments of genuine human connection. A brainstorming session where the team just clicked. A moment when a coworker asked how you were really doing after a tough meeting. This isn't about judging your current job. It's simply about gathering data. This is your new scorecard. Over time, you'll start to see patterns. You'll realize that your best days at work weren't the ones where you got a superficial compliment, but the ones where you felt a sense of mastery or true connection. This audit is your compass. It doesn't mean you have to quit your job if the columns are empty. It can lead to something called job crafting, proactively looking for small ways to bring more autonomy, competence, or relatedness into your current role. It's the first step to aligning your daily work with what actually feeds your soul.
The second habit is one that might feel a little counterintuitive, especially in a world that worships perfection. It's to embrace intentional discomfort. See, true growth, it doesn't happen when we're comfortable. It happens just on the edge of our abilities, in a place that feels a little risky and a little uncertain. The psychologist K. Anders Ericsson called this deliberate practice. It's the difference between, say, mindlessly jogging the same route every day versus training with a coach to improve your time, focusing specifically on your weaknesses. And this whole idea, it's built on the groundbreaking work of Carol Dweck and her research on what she calls a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset believes that our talents and intelligence are set in stone. In this view, every task is a test. And failure? Well, failure is a verdict on our permanent abilities. So, naturally, we play it safe to avoid being judged. But a growth mindset, on the other hand, believes our abilities are more like muscles. They can be developed through dedication and hard work. In this view, failure isn't a verdict. It's just feedback. It's valuable information on how to improve. Challenges aren't threats. They are opportunities to stretch and grow. As the author Daniel Coyle says, the secret is to play on the edges of your competence. The culture of perfect success often pushes us into a fixed mindset. We're so afraid of making a mistake on a big project that we stop taking the small risks necessary for real learning. So how do we actually practice this without, jeopardizing our careers? We do it by designing small, low-stakes growth experiments. A growth experiment is just a calculated risk with a primary goal is learning, not a perfect outcome. For example, let's say public speaking makes you anxious. A performance goal driven by a fixed mindset would be, I have to give a flawless presentation to the executives. You can feel the pressure in that, right? It's immense. But a learning goal from a growth mindset sounds more like this. My growth experiment this month is just to get a little more comfortable thinking on my feet. And the action could be as simple as volunteering to speak for just 2 minutes in a low-stakes team meeting, or maybe joining a local Toastmasters club. The outcome, it doesn't matter nearly as much as the act of trying. So think about your own career for a moment. What's one small area of intentional discomfort you could step into this week? Maybe it's finally asking that senior colleague you admire for a 15-minute virtual coffee chat, just to learn about their journey. The experiment isn't to get a mentor. It's simply to practice reaching out. Or maybe it's taking on one small task in a project that you don't know how to do yet. The experiment is to learn, not to be the expert. By embracing these tiny acts of professional courage, you're fundamentally rewiring your brain.
You're teaching yourself that your capabilities are not fixed, and you're building the resilience and adaptability that are the true markers of a sustainable, fulfilling career. And that brings us to our third and final habit. It's the quietest of the three, but it might just be the most powerful. It's the practice of cultivating reflective detachment. Our modern work culture, it often mistakes busyness for effectiveness. We run from one Zoom meeting to the next, our brains saturated with information, our days a blur of reactive tasks. We're in a constant state of doing, with almost no time left for, well, being. This is where the work of the scholar Donald Schoen on reflective practice becomes so vital. He made a distinction between reflection in action, which is basically thinking on your feet, and reflection on action, the post-mortem analysis. Most of us are pretty good at the first one. We have to be. But we almost never make time for the second. Reflection on action is the intentional act of stepping back from the grind. It's looking at our experiences from a distance to extract wisdom. A study from Harvard Business Review found that employees who spent just 15 minutes a day reflecting on their work performed 23% better than those who did not. This deliberate rest, as author Alex Pang calls it, it isn't an indulgence, it is a strategic necessity. It's in these quiet moments of reflection that we connect the dots, gain clarity, and prevent ourselves from drifting aimlessly in our careers, just pushed around by the currents of external demands. The practical application of this habit is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. It's to schedule pause points into your calendar, as if they were your most important meetings. And here's a simple way to start. Block out 20 minutes on your calendar for this coming Friday afternoon. You can just call it a weekly review. No one else has to know. During this time, put your phone on silent, close your email tab, and just sit with a notebook. And ask yourself 3 simple questions. 1. What energized me this week? What tasks made me feel alive and engaged? 2. What drained me this week? What activities left me feeling depleted? And 3. What did I learn about myself, my work, or my colleagues? That's it. This isn't a time to plan your next week or create another to-do list. This is a time to simply be with your experience. It's about developing a deeper self-awareness. And over time, the answers to these questions will become your North Star. They'll guide your decisions. You'll start to proactively seek out the work that energizes you and set boundaries around the work that drains you. You'll move from being a reactive participant in your career to becoming its thoughtful, intentional architect.
So those are the 3 habits. First, redefining your scorecard, shifting your focus from what the world values to what you value, based on your needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Second, embracing intentional discomfort, seeing challenges not as threats, but as the very path to your growth through small, deliberate experiments. And third, cultivating reflective detachment, creating that quiet space to learn from your journey and guide it with wisdom. These aren't quick fixes or productivity hacks. They're a new way of being. They're a gentle rebellion against the tyranny of busyness and the empty promise of traditional success. That quiet hum of unfulfillment, it doesn't have to be your constant companion. By practicing these habits, you can slowly begin to replace it with a different sound, a quiet, steady hum of purpose. The feeling that you are on a path that is truly, authentically your own. This isn't a race to a finish line. It's a lifelong practice of aligning who you are with what you do. And that journey, it begins with one small step. So my invitation to you today is a reflective one. In the comments below, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What is one rule of success that you're ready to unlearn to unlock your deeper career potential? Sharing it can be such a powerful first step in making it real. And reading the reflections of others, it reminds us that we're not alone on this path. If this conversation resonated with you and you'd like to explore more ways to live a more intentional life, consider subscribing to True Flow Life and joining our community. Thank you for sharing this space with me. Be kind to yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.